Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, El Nino Weather Watch, October 19th edition here. We're looking at some El Nino numbers and we are still in an El Nino advisory as we speak. You can see October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, and June. By the time we get towards next spring, El Nino likely to be on the wane here. But as you can see over the next several months, we're likely to be in El Nino conditions and we're almost officially there. And I'll show you what I mean here in a moment. If we take a look here, this is the date line. This is 180 degrees. And we're looking at 5 north and 5 south on the equator right now. And this is the entire planet. 0 is about right where London, England is there. And 180 is the date line. 120 west is close to the South American coastline. But if you look here, you can see this blue. That shows where outgoing long wave radiation has been less. And that's where that convection's been setting up across the date line. Kind of a sign of where the Walker circulation is. I'll go over that a little bit more here in a moment. And this is looking at the evolution here of the El Nino. And you can see this November 2022 at the top. And again, we're looking 5 north to 5 south, right along the equator there. And this would be December, January, February, March. And by the time you get towards March, you can see these warmer temperatures really starting to roll in here and that warm water building along the coast of South America here and out across the Pacific Ocean here by the time we're into October 2023. And that's where we are now. So you can see that transition from La Nina to El Nino there. This is looking where we currently are. Nino 3.4 at about 1.5. That's right on the threshold of a strong El Nino. And you start to call it a very strong El Nino at about 2 centigrade here. And you can see our long steady climb out of La Nina conditions here on the 3.4 I should be pointing at here. And you can see we got up to about 1.6, a little bit of a pause here, but we should start to increase this again a bit, it looks like, as we go on in towards the winter months here. And this is looking at the last 4 months here. So you can see this would be for May, June, July, and August. You can see 0.5. That's when we officially started the El Nino conditions there across the equatorial Pacific. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4 months running totals here. So when the September numbers come in here, we will officially be, it'll officially be considered an El Nino there. And you can kind of see El Ninos of the past. We had the weak one from 2018 to 2019 there. And we had the pretty strong one there from 2015 to 2016. Actually, a super El Nino up towards 2.5 Celsius difference. Probably not getting that strong this round. This is looking at the European as of October 1st, and it puts out this forecast here for the Nino 3.4 region, and it shows the ensemble mean somewhere right around the 2 degrees Celsius anomaly scale there. And so you can see we're probably right on the cusp of going into a very strong El Nino coming up. And now looking at the European seasonal model here, this is October, November, December, and you can clearly see the El Nino conditions here extended across the equatorial Pacific Ocean. And as we scroll out, you can see these conditions continue to exist as we go off into the early spring. You can kind of see it waning there right at the end, though. That's kind of in line with what we're expecting as well. And yeah, so that's pretty interesting looking at that. It's kind of cool that we have ability to look at the seasonal forecast also. Now, this is looking way back at the same time last year, October 2022, and we had La Nina conditions clearly evident there across the equatorial Pacific. And as I scroll ahead here, you'll notice now we're in towards January 2023. We're starting to wane there as far as El Nino or La Nina is concerned anyway. And I'm going to keep scrolling ahead here, and you can kind of see that cooler than normal water across the equatorial Pacific. You can see that start to be replaced here as we go on in through the springtime coming up. And you can see that warmer water really start to get rolling there across the equatorial Pacific. And that is that ongoing El Nino. And this would be June. Now we're into July. And you can clearly see that warmer water extending outwards like a tongue across the equatorial Pacific, marking those El Nino conditions. Keep scrolling ahead here, and we're going to be all the way up towards October 19th, shown right there. So you can kind of see that flip between September 2022 there and where we are currently here. Much warmer there across the equatorial Pacific. Now, this is looking at the Oceanic Nino Index. So this is kind of cool. You can go all the way back to 1950, and you can see the La Nina back there in 1950. You can go through these individual El Nino episodes in La Nina and kind of look at that 97, 98 super El Nino if you want to. And you can compare these temperatures, and you can kind of see that triple dip La Nina we had here the last 3 seasons, and now we are climbing out of that into El Nino conditions as we speak. And so the takeaways here are, actually, let's go through this slide slide last. Let's go ahead and show you. I told you to remember that Walker circulation there. So this would be about the date line here, 180, that increased convection. That's why the outgoing long wave radiation that I showed you is blue, because you're getting this Walker circulation setting up over the central Pacific Ocean here. And there you can tell how this is setting up also by the Southern Oscillation Index, which I'm going to show you here in a moment. And that is an index based on the pressure there in Darwin, Australia, and Tahiti there across the central Pacific Ocean. So if we look here, you can actually see the Southern Oscillation Index dashboard. This is the last 30 days. You can see it's actually been trending a little bit more positive here. The last 90 days are here, definitely negative still though. And you can see the latest daily contributions here have been negative. So probably trending a little bit more negative here over the recent last observations. You can see July here, -3, August, -10, almost -11 in September. So you can kind of see where that Walker circulation is setting up somewhere out towards the date line here. Kind of a classic El Nino here where the pressure is lower over Tahiti versus Darwin, Australia. So let's go ahead and jump back to this one now. This blue here across the date line was showing that outgoing long wave radiation has been suppressed, which means there are more clouds and more deep convection in this area. And that lines up quite well with that Southern Oscillation Index here. You can see I threw that thunderstorm on there to kind of try to show you where the deep convection was occurring. Now, if we look here, La Nina is the opposite. You get the lower pressure here towards Darwin, Australia, the higher pressure towards Tahiti. And so you get different areas of convection here, which changes the circulation of the Pacific Ocean, which in turn can change the circulation downstream across the entire planet even. That's kind of showing you what the Walker circulation is. And let's bounce back to El Nino here, where you see the deeper convection here over the central Pacific, warmer water out there, and that's Tahiti, lower pressure there versus higher pressure in Darwin. And we're definitely in that negative here. So it looks like the Walker circulation has been responding to these El Nino conditions also. And again, there's one more time with La Nina. Here is the Southern Oscillation Index, and you can see that it really shows El Nino conditions quite well. You can see the powerful one in 82 and 83, 97, 98, 2015 and 16, and you can see our triple dip La Ninas in here as well. And then you can see this just now emerging back into the current El Nino that we are in. The current value, September 2023, -1.3 there. Now, taking a look here, we got some new information, September 21st versus October 19th. This one is hot off the presses here, and you can see the uptick in the potential for some above average precipitation for California here. So interesting stuff there. Again, this is December, January, and February coming up. This is the actual anomaly. It's kind of raw data here. They usually don't show this one, but you can see California kind of bullseye there, including Nevada, even some portions of Arizona also. Kind of interesting. This is looking at January, February, and March, and you can see on September 21st, they still had that for Southern California, but look at that increase there across some of California as well. And this is that one hot off the presses there. So interesting stuff. We are looking at, the dice are kind of loaded for an above average precipitation here across a lot of the state, but that is by no means a guarantee. You're looking way off into the future here. The dice are just simply loaded. And this is for the same time frame there, January, February, March, kind of the raw data look at the precipitation anomaly in inches here, kind of bullseyed right there in California and Nevada. So if you like what winter is, there's definitely worse signals that you can see than that, but the dice are loaded, but it's by no means a guarantee. Now, this is looking at February, March, and April here, and this is hot off the presses as well. You can kind of see they took that away for this time frame for a lot of California. But again, don't put too much stock into that just yet. This is looking at the anomaly in degrees Fahrenheit, and you can see the Pacific Northwest and some of California here for December, January, and February scheduled to be above normal there. This is January, February, March. Again, the Pacific Northwest, portions of Western Canada, very strong signal for above average temperatures as we go on through the new year into early spring as well. This goes all the way out through February, March, and April here. And so, yeah, interesting stuff there. And they also talk a little bit about the 2015-16, where they were highly confident in the above average precipitation for California, but they kind of admit that they do not have such high confidence this time around. As you can see, despite a strong El Nino event, highly likely this upcoming winter and spring, the dynamical model guidance depicts high forecast spread and seasonal precipitation outcomes, both in sign, wet and dry, and location. So again, then they kind of point out here in 2015 and 16 how they were much more confident in that forecast, which actually turned out to be wrong as the storm track pointed a little bit further north up towards the Pacific Northwest. The storm track was still there, just further north here. But they finish up there with the elevated odds for the above normal precipitation that is depicted for parts of California, as you can see, December, January, February, and January, February, and March. But of course, if you have concerns with and you need to know what's coming up here, don't just take something like this and run with it for the next few months. Always stay tuned. We'll update this again next month as well. And as always, it's better to look at short-term forecasts and break things down, and always remain vigilant on forecast updates. As soon as the forecast goes out, it starts changing almost immediately. So always check back here. Anyway, I hope you guys are liking this new California channel. We'll continue to do these El Nino updates here, and we'll probably revisit this at some point next year as well after this is all over to kind of see how it turned out. Every single time we have an El Nino or a La Nina, climate scientists learn more, and hopefully we can just continue to improve our forecasts as we go. Weather models continue to get better and more computing power and whatnot. So hopefully we can continue to make strides in climatology as we go over the next few years. It is not quite an exact science, as you guys know. But anyway, hope you guys are liking this channel. I'll do my normal briefing tomorrow as always, and I will talk to you guys then.